Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Haley Burling, and I am the manager of digital programs and events at Government Executive Media Group. It's my great pleasure to welcome you to today's programming, Preparing for the Thaw, Community Development Operations Post-COVID-19, brought to you by Dude Solutions. During this digital webcast, Dude Solutions will bring together government and community development leaders across the country to discuss operational lessons learned, short and long-term plans, and transitioning to a new normal amid COVID-19. Before we get started with today's program, I'd like to go over a few housekeeping items. To the right of your screen, you'll find several icons, including the Q&A tab, which allows you to ask questions. We'll be fielding those questions towards the end of the program, but feel free to submit along the way so we can get right to them. If you experience any technical difficulties, there's a red button at the bottom of the screen that says Test Your Connection. That button will take you to a help page. From there, you can browse a number of technical solutions, or you can chat directly with a member of our support team. Due to an influx of digital streaming and limited bandwidth, if you lose connection at any point during this program, we encourage you to simply refresh your browser. This webcast is being recorded, and closed captioning will be available for the on-demand program. Now, let's meet today's speakers. Joining me today is Matt Funk, Code Enforcement Officer for the City of Beaver Creek, Ohio, Chris Phillips, Development Services Director for the City of Mount Vernon, Washington, Jay Settles, Chief Building Officer for McDowell County, North Carolina, and Jeff Pavey, Senior Sales Manager at Dude Solutions. Now, I'll go ahead and pass things over to Jeff to kick off our discussion.
Good afternoon, and thank you, Haley, for the introduction. I just did want to mention one more item of housekeeping. If your screen is a little blurry, there's a checkbox in the upper left-hand side that says Image Mode. I know my screen was a little blurry, so I checked that, and it fixed that problem for me. So again, my name is Jeff Pavey, and I'm going to moderate today's discussion. And in terms of the agenda, as Haley mentioned, we are going to spend the bulk of our agenda today talking with our panelists, learning from their kind of experiences dealing with the COVID crisis that we've recently been going through. I'll set the context a little bit before that, and at the end, I'll tie things up and talk a little bit about the influence of technology. So I've been working in community development for right around 10 years, and in that 10 years, I've seen really a ton of change, but really nothing like I've seen in the last 3 months in terms of the impact and the speed of change that we've all been experiencing. And as we know, the threat from COVID-19 and the need to enforce social distancing really changed things overnight, you know, in both our professional and our personal lives as well. And in particular, most, if not all of us, have been working from home, at least part-time. And even if we weren't working from home, we had to do our work while minimizing or eliminating contact with others. In community development, that means we weren't able to have face-to-face interactions, over-the-counter discussions with our citizens, our communities that we were used to. And kind of during the onset of all this, when this was going on, and we were talking with a lot of our partners, our government partners at Dude Solutions, one thing really stood out to me, and this is part of what we're going to talk about today, but it was really it highlighted the importance of that intersection between process and technology for how we're addressing kind of the issues that we're facing. And now that it seems like the peak of the crisis is behind us and we're focused on responding and preparing for the new normal, we're hoping to glean a little information from our panelists today. Our panelists are going to share how they responded to COVID, what lessons they learned that will help us in our decision making as we're moving forward. Before we get going on our panel questions, what I'd like to do quickly is I'm going to put a poll up, and I want you to answer this poll. Oh, looks like it's already been triggered. Has everybody seen the poll? Haley, can you tell? Okay. So basically, we're just trying to get a sense on, you know, who our audience is today and how you experienced, what your impact was for that COVID result. I'll give you just a couple of seconds to respond there. Now, go. Continue. Okay, and then I'm going to publish these results. Has everybody seen the poll results? Yeah, so it looks like 58, 58% business is going on, business as usual. Everybody, 58% say that we're busier than ever. We have just about 30% business as usual, and then just shy of 12% have limited to only essential personnel. So a little bit different than maybe what I thought or what I heard, but interesting results nonetheless. So what I like to do now is move on and talk to our panelists. So we have some questions. Our panelists are all Dude Solutions partners who work in various roles in community development, and they're going to share their insights. And I'm going to just go ahead and ask some questions. Hold on one second as I get there. Sorry for my technology challenges here. And one more. Okay. These are our panelists. So the first question is a two-part question. And that is, what were the biggest challenges you faced as the COVID crisis started impacting your city or your community? And how did you prioritize and address those challenges in the early phases of that crisis?
Hey, Jeff, this is Chris from Mount Vernon. I wouldn't mind chiming in here. First, welcome to everybody who is joining us today on the webinar. I'm Chris Phillips. As was stated earlier, I'm the Development Services Director out here in Mount Vernon, Washington. Our governor pretty much put things on lockdown starting on the 23rd of March, and we began really executing a plan that we had developed about a year earlier. My background, I'm a retired 30-year military person, and basically how I grew up over the years is basically, is utilizing lessons learned, briefing the mission, we execute the mission, and we debrief the mission, and we learn from that. So we began transitioning well over a year ago from console computers to laptops, for that added mobility for training and operations, the ability to work from home. We also transitioned from our permitting system to SmartGov, which again allowed us to have an agile cloud-based system and solution to what we needed versus something that was server-related and really something that was somewhat archaic. We also integrated iPhones, Androids, tablets for our inspector force that was out there doing our building inspections. We integrated electronic plan review, which is part of SmartGov with Bluebeam. So we were able to integrate all of those types of training aids. We updated a variety of things within City Hall where my department's located. With our conference room, we had state-of-the-art communication suite. We had training aids. We have a smart board. We have a variety of other items that we can use for connectivity when we're doing our pre-application meetings. This is all prior to COVID. And then, we train every Thursday or Friday for 3 hours in the system with all of our permit techs and all of the managers that we have here. There's approximately 14 folks that work with me pre-COVID that we were doing this every Thursday just to make sure that we understood the system and were able to really execute as we needed to. And then we also met with our development community once a month to sit down with them just on nuances of the system and how to better how they could better utilize the system. So again, we were working well there. Now after March 24th, a huge difference, dichotomy there. We had the majority of our folks working from home, which again was fairly seamless because we had practiced it earlier. But there were some things that we needed to integrate and integrate very quickly. One was taking our pre-app meetings that were done in person. We created a FTP site for exchanging information between clients in the pre-SmartGov, before putting anything into the system. Pre-application meetings we conducted via Zoom, which worked out perfectly fine as well. We had a Zoom account before, so this was just really educating our developers and some of our other community partners how to utilize it. Permit submittals, obviously used through SmartGov, and we really utilize SmartGov to its nth degree. If you just log on to our portal and go down to the very bottom there for the documents, everything is integrated between our city website, the portal, all the information you need for electronic submittals, the reasons why you need those submittals, and then we do a training session once a month that we've been doing since basically mid-March of 2019 with our community partners. So they were fairly well versed with what was going on. Electronic bill pay, again, another part of SmartGov, has been awesome. We've transitioned over probably about a year and a half ago, and over 98% of our payments are via the portal. As of today, it's 100%. But just to kind of give you an idea, we did about $250,000 worth of permit revenue in the month of March. The month of April, after the shutdown, you would imagine we got hit pretty hard. We were down to about 14,000. This month, we had a restart for our group by the governor on April 23rd, and what we found out there is we've done over $225,000 so far this month. So we've really seen, like some of the folks out there have talked about in the poll, it wasn't a U or an extended U rebound. It was a V. I mean, we're seeing a significant amount of activity as it relates to what's being allowed out there to be done. And then another thing we integrated were inspections via Skype. We thought that putting our inspectors basically in harm's way by going into someone else's home, that wasn't really a smart idea to do. Our building official had some expertise in this area. We beta tested it within an hour or two out in the field, and the next thing you know, we came up with the protocols that we needed, and we started instituting that. Lastly, I just want to say that City Hall is still closed today to the public. The workforce that I have is pretty much on a hybrid work schedule. Some come to City Hall, some work from home. We try to stagger schedules as it relates to that, just to make sure that, again, to our customers, it's seamless, that we're there. We're answering emails, phone calls, and whatnot. But just what got passed last night, we've got about a $5.3 million hole in our general fund. I had the misfortune of letting 3 of our employees know that they will be laid off for the remainder of the year, most likely indefinitely, and I've got 3 more people on furlough. So, surprise this morning. That's what we're working through right now to come up with a new normal, and I'll pass it on to the rest of the crew there, Jeff.
Great, thanks, Chris, for that. Yeah, a lot of similar stories in terms of some of the challenges to the general fund, but it's good to hear that you're at least able to keep the permitting side up and running. Matt and Jay, do you have anything to add on this question?
This is Jay. Actually, he sounds like a much larger jurisdiction, so we're much smaller staffing. Really, our biggest our biggest transition was actually done back in December, prior to COVID, just going from a paper system to the electronic system. So luckily, we sort of worked out all those bugs. Like Chris was saying, there's a lot of training involved in using just a different type system. Luckily, we went through all that in December. January was sort of our feeling it out for the inspectors, which again, our whole entire department is 5 people. So we're much smaller. Now, are we all essential? Yes, we are definitely essential, and luckily our state deemed us that, and our Department of Insurance, Office of the State Fire Marshal, who regulates the way we inspect, they deemed us and construction essential. So honestly, we didn't slow down at all. Didn't even have much of a ripple. So thankfully.
Yeah, that's fantastic. What I think I'll do now is I'm going to go ahead and transition to the next question here. So the next question, you can see it up there, but the question is, each state was different in what the parameters of the lockdown were. They all had, different things to deal with. The timing was different. So how was your department and team or staff affected? And then how did that affect your normal process and workflow?
Yeah, this is Matt. I'll jump in on this one. So, we, like a lot of people, we were shut down pretty quick, with the state. And so most of our employees were required to work from home, with some employees coming in on an as-needed basis, but everyone was basically working from home. So, it was kind of a challenge a little bit as far as just, moving from office to home. But honestly, like the other two gentlemen, we had last year, transitioned to a lot of online software and things like that. And so it was actually, relatively seamless as far as our workflow. It was important for us to make sure that our employees were still able to review permit applications and answer questions, community questions, things like that, and applicants. And so with our software, we were able to do a lot of that just remotely and online with our software. We too also use SmartGov, but our applicants were able to make payments online, and so we used email and things like that to communicate and correspond, phone calls with applicants as needed. But we were able to pretty much keep things going pretty consistently through this whole COVID time frame, and we've actually stayed relatively busy. I think people working from home and being at home, generated a lot of at-home projects that people took on for themselves, and so that actually kept us pretty busy with a lot of our residential permits, particularly.
Yeah. Great. Chris, or Jay, do you have anything to add here?
No, as a matter of fact, I don't. Sort of answer that pretty well.
This is Chris out here. I think. Yeah, Chris out here in Washington. So we're still in what one would consider to be phase one of our lockdown. Which basically, if there were permits that were issued prior to March 23rd, construction activity is allowed to go on. But we have a variety of things that are waiting for phase two to open up, and same with our construction folks, So we're just waiting to get word from the governor out here when we can move from phase one to phase two. There are other counties within the state that are in phase two right now. But we have a plan. So this is, again, working with our development partners, knowing now that basically 1/3 of my workforce, we're a small city, we're 32,500 folks, department of 14, and, like I said, 3 people furloughed, 3 more people laid off. So we're down a rather significant amount, and we're still making it go, but I want to make sure that we over-communicate with our folks out in town that, hey, we're open for business. We'll still be doing it. We may just be a little bit slower in getting things done. And then the other part of it is there's a lot of safety precautions that are being implemented out in the field for the construction crews. And thank goodness we're not the ones that are the enforcement. We're the education piece. So there's a whole different department in the state that takes care of the enforcement piece, but we just go out there and make sure, they got wash stations, they're wearing masks, they're social distancing, and just getting out there just to see how they're doing, what issues they're having, and how we might be able to help with that. We also have partnered with the Building Association of Washington. they're one lobbying group that works to get things done with the state, and we work through Association of Washington Cities, but we also have been partnering together because we think construction is that important to our community, especially with affordable housing being there. So we're working a variety of different efforts to try to get the word out, and my hope is that the plan would be that as things start moving back, that we're able to bring back some of the folks that we have furloughed and laid off, just because the revenues will support what we have. But like I mentioned today, sales tax is huge, a $5.3 million hole, and it doesn't look like things, quite frankly, are looking much better there, but we'll do our best.
Chris, I just had one follow-up question. You mentioned, getting the word out was critical. People don't know, who's in business, including government, and can I get my permit? And I know you talked about working with some of the different, organizations. What other ways are you getting the word out so that your citizens know that you guys are still in business?
Oh, thanks, Jeff. Yeah, so what we've done is again, some people pull information, so we're updating our website. We're putting information on SmartGov, so they have active links that'll take them to, as I like to call it, the promised land. But we also know we got to push information. So what we've done is gone through SmartGov, and you can pick out, or generate a report that would come out with all the contacts that you have for the different ones. So we've got a huge mailing list that we put out information, and then we also partner with a variety of different businesses, from a downtown association, the Chamber of Commerce. There's a business association or a builders association for the two counties that kind of partner together. We push out information through their leadership, and then, as I like to say, our usual folks that we have. So it's quite an extensive mailing list, and then also we've partnered with the local paper. Yeah, they have an electronic version as well as paper copy, and just putting word out there of what we're doing, how we're doing it, and how we're trying to support the community.
Okay, well, great, thank you.
This is Matt. I'm sorry, this is Matt. Just to add to that, we, in the city of Beaver Creek, we've also used social media to try to get the word out to people that, even though we're, for a time there, most of us are back to work in the office, but during when our offices were closed, that we were still, taking applications and just keeping the word out that, we were closed physically, but we're still, still working remotely. So we use, social media is a good tool too to try to get the word out.
Great. Anybody else have any other follow-up for that? Okay, so just to dive in a little bit, when this whole thing happened, how long did it take you to really identify the processes necessary to support this work, given social distancing? I know the one thing that was so extreme about this example was it just happened immediately, kind of unlike the recession. We kind of knew it was building. But how long did it take you to respond to some of these issues?
This is Jay. Actually, it was, like you said, it happened so quick. I mean, like a lot of people, we had our own personal stories. I had a daughter at college, so I was actually out of town retrieving her because it was shut down when the word came through that our office was to close. Which all county offices closed to the visiting public. So it was just something that actually could happen very, very quickly by just putting a sign on the door, because everything else was already in place. So then it was really notifying the public through the porthole, through the county website, just letting them know that walk-in traffic isn't available anymore. Personally, in our department, we noticed the drop-off of walk-in just when we went live with the system in December, January. So there was a drop-off of those visiting coming through the door type thing anyway. So I guess it was very quick in the way we were notified, but also we could respond rather quickly and then just business as usual. The other main thing was the phone calls, transferring the phone to the permit specialist cell phone. And that was probably took the longest transition.
Yeah, and Jay, I want to touch on one thing that you said. So you said you're kind of your foot traffic minimized, and I know that was kind of before COVID. And I would just want to be clear that it wasn't the result of less business. It was just that more people were kind of going online and using the digital system that you had set up. Is that correct?
Correct, actually, because we found that just in today's world, people like that ease of doing things from their home. So we just noticed that contractors, homeowners, a lot of our homeowners, we have 65,000 plus our current residents. A lot of them are vacation homes from out of state, people that don't live here. So they want to try to permit on their property from wherever they live. So the portal just allows that to happen. It's been wonderful. That's what the biggest complaint was, that we were only here a certain time of the day. Now we're 24/7. So
yeah,
it's just I couldn't have planned it any better.
That's awesome. Thank you. Matt or Chris, do you have anything else to add here?
No, not really. I just agree. I would agree that that having software that we could access remotely has been great. And like I said, it was a pretty quick transition for us to because they did shut things down pretty quick. And so having that, we in the last year kind of did that transition with software and everything too, and to be able to accept payments online, things like that. So that definitely gave us the support we needed to make a smooth transition to remote working for sure.
Okay. Well, great.
Yeah,
Let's go ahead.
I concur with the other two there. I'll let you know. A week after we shut down, we had already started because I run facilities as well here for the city. So I do the permitting side of the house, but I also do facilities. I'm very happy to say that I'm not a planner, a building official, or an inspector, so I have no real background there. Facilities, I have a better background on, and we also are a Dude Solutions customer there as with Maintenance Edge. But I started taking a look with our team, really flattening the organization about what we need to do for reopening City Hall and other customer-facing departments. So we've got a library, we've got a parks department, and things like that. So those were other things that we are looking at as far as, when we do get to phase 2, we can spend 3 and 4, that we have different aspects of customer facing that we can do with our community. So, we're already looking into, social distancing floor mats that we've purchased, bilingual COVID signs about if you're sick, stay out, a variety of different things for PPE for our workforce, to include plexiglass sneeze guards at the front desk, safety glasses if they need them, reusable cotton face masks, the latex or neoprene gloves, hand sanitizer, counter supply, all that sort of thing, that we are all poised and ready to go. I call it like a little deployment box. We've got boxes for each one of the departments that we put together, minus police and fire, because they've already had their stuff, but for all the others that are out there, just to make sure that we're ready to go when the word is given that we can reopen to some degree.
Yeah, well, great. Well, thanks, everybody. Let's move on to the next question here. We've covered some of this stuff, but the question is, what measures did you take to ensure that your jurisdiction was able to continue bringing in revenue? We talked a lot about money.
So, Jeff, I'll take a whack at that. This is Chris again. And, I talked about it a little bit when we were under the first question I answered, but, most of our enterprise funds are doing perfectly well. It's the general fund that really is a big hit. And I did explain that, where we were in March, the big decrease in April, and now the rebound in May. quite frankly, even though like our department is doing well bringing in revenues, we still, because of that $5.3 million deficit in the general fund, had to pony up, employees that through no fault of their own, we had to make some hard decisions, and the mayor and the council had to, take a look and approve those to lay people off indefinitely, and then to furlough people, and just being able to provide the metrics for council or senior leadership to be able to say, hey, look, I've got X number of permits coming in. I need to bring back that other permit tech, or hey, we've got a ton of inspections going on. You can see that it's coming. We need to bring back our building inspector or another building inspector to go ahead and meet the challenges there. Those are the challenges I see, coming up in the future.
Great. Anybody else have anything to add?
Yeah, this is Matt. We obviously, the city of Beaver Creek, we're also, some of our funding sources are being limited, because of the job losses, different things in the community. So we do also have some areas where our funding is being cut. But as far as our department in general and permitting, the fact that we can take online permit payments and things like that, and people can pay fees and stuff online now has actually been pretty big for us, because that was one of the transitions we did when we incorporated a new online software about a year ago. Was we didn't take credit card payments before, so through this whole COVID thing, had we not been able to have that ability, would have definitely impacted our departmental revenues much more significantly than now that we can do online and do credit card payments online and things like that.
Yeah, this is Jay. That's actually exactly, we've actually seen an increase in permitting since COVID. We've actually brought in more money. Of course, that online permitting and payment is wonderful. Those that don't, we accept a check, but they can mail it in the mail. They've started the process, and we just don't finalize the permitting until we receive that check. But it really hasn't been an inconvenience at all, other than maybe our deposits, our daily deposits is gone down to just once a week, because we just don't have that cash flow in our office issue, which can be a problem sometimes.
Yeah. Do you think the increase in permitting, the increase in number of permits, is it mostly kind of residential additions and things, like people at home looking for something to do, or is it more broad?
Exactly. I just talked to our permit specialist. She says that a lot of it is decks, porches, something, sheds, something that they just have been putting off, and once they receive the check, they got some extra money, and they're going to go spend it.
Yeah, I think we're seeing the same. This is Matt. I think we're seeing the same thing. A lot of your weekend warriors are taking on, projects that, they've got the time, and they're doing things that they maybe didn't otherwise have time for, and now they do. So, they're building those sheds and decks, fences, all those kind of things. I've definitely seen an uptick in those types of permits.
Right. I think everybody in my neighborhood has a permit, right? I have a very small neighborhood, but I know 3 different permits, including one that I've got in right now. So it's kind of interesting to hear that's going on everywhere. Okay, well, got the next question here. With everyone working remotely, how is your staff able to continue to working together? So we talked a lot about kind of that continuity with, the public and that, but you're losing a lot of that internal communication, those natural, like, face-to-face interactions. So, what do you do to maintain that communication, and what tools and technologies were helpful there?
Yeah, this is Matt. I'll take that one on. It is, it was a little bit more of a challenge, because you can't just walk over to the next office and talk to whoever about, a situation that you've got. Even with our residents, people, that like to come in and talk about, the permit that they're going to get or different things. But, it's just, I guess being intentional about communication. We've, obviously called each other, email, just done things to, be intentional about trying to communicate, statuses of projects, different things like that. And obviously, with having online software, it's been very helpful, because, different staff members can see, can look up, where, projects are, the status of permits, inspections, being able to, anybody can schedule an inspection online as far as staff goes, and applicants can obviously go online and apply. So, for us, it's just, just trying to be intentional about, still communicating with each other and letting everybody know, where things were on different projects and permits.
Right. And does it seem kind of, looking at it in retrospect over the past several weeks, is it pretty effective what you've been doing?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we're a smaller department, and we all worked pretty well, and before COVID. So that just kind of continued through the process. All of our staff here has a really good working relationship, so that definitely helps that process. But just between phone calls, emails, different things like that, we've been able to maintain pretty good communication.
Mm-hmm. Chris, you're a little bit bigger. I'd be interested in, how you were feeling about the impact of your, communication.
Yeah, on our end of it, the only thing we added, concur with everything that was just said, was the Zoom meeting piece. So again, at least you could see somebody and talk. We added that, and then the other thing was I called it an end-of-day report. I came up with a draft spreadsheet that was very easy to be able to account for people's time. Again, just being a public entity, I know that when it came to the electeds, they were just very interested in how we were accounting for our employees' time. Really kind of a cool feature in SmartGov is you can actually see when people are in there if you really wanted to go and do that. I looked at it one time and never went back again. I just trusted my people that they were doing the right thing because I could see the amount of work that was being completed. But you can go in there and actually see when they time it out or check it out, when they check it back in to do an audit on that. Like I said, I looked at it one day for probably about 15 minutes and said, okay, I don't want to do that. But hopefully that gives you an answer. The Zoom really worked out well, and then just an end-of-day report just to let me know what was going on. And more importantly, if they had any issues, any impediments to the process that I could assist with, because I was essential and I was at City Hall all the time. So if it was, needing to get something mailed or having a letter printed out and making sure that we had that formal correspondence in there, I took a lot of those administrative duties on board to kind of help out wherever we needed.
Yeah, this is Jay, actually, and what I found is that it seems like the cell communication, texting, quick emails, it seemed to make us maybe more productive. Those times spent where you're just chatting it up, or even a meeting. I'm not a big fan of meetings because it does seem to waste sometimes of times. So anyway, we seemed to be more productive. There was more time to get inspections done. So for the inspectors anyway. Are you there?
Oh, did we lose Jeff? Jeff, are you there? Jeff,
I'm back. Can you hear me?
Yes,
can you hear me?
Can hear you.
Okay, good. Sorry about that. Yeah, so the last question, thank you for moving the slide for me. The last question I have is, if you would have been able to predict COVID-19 situation, which of course none of us would, but if you would have been able to predict that, what would you have done differently to be better prepared? And then also, what are some of the key things you feel need to be addressed to better prepare for something like this moving forward?
This is Jay, actually, again. I actually made a statement to my county manager, which I mean, of course I didn't predict it, and maybe some people could have, but you would have thought I did predict it because we went with some electronic system. Honestly, I have no idea how we could have done it under a paper system, and it was only a walk-in, and telephone is the only way we interacted with people. I don't know how it would have been done, but so yes, this is the only way I could see that we would have come through this is have an electronic system that allows us to permit, schedule, and do inspections and not miss a beat. In the future, I guess the only drawback is in the office here with the computers and our permit specialists. It's just the multiple screens, that kind of thing. For her to work at home on a single laptop was just not as easy. So she didn't. We're back. We're actually opened up again here in the office. So she was desiring to come back into the office just because it was just so much easier. And then the inspectors really use a tablet that seems to work out well, or their cell phone. So there's not a whole lot on that end, but really, just if I have to prepare for some of the individuals is to get laptops that they can, with a larger screen, maybe, which is in our area, it's hard to have a training session with citizens who maybe have no desire to permit for anything on their home to tell them how to use a system, but that's about, it's some kind of training. And it's honestly, those people are always going to be here who just don't know how to go online and do anything. So,
right.
You know, I don't know how you can prepare for those people. It's just going to be, they're going to be there. We're going to work with them as best we can.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think just from our view of this, it seems there's definitely been a spike in the use of kind of this portal, and I think just having more people use it creates more familiarity, and it might make it easier to provide the familiarity necessary to be comfortable using a system like that. But we hear that in a lot of places. What about you guys? Anything you do differently, or thinking about the next step?
This is Matt. I think I'd agree with Jay. I think having being able to use online permitting software, just being able to access remotely permits information from tablets and things like that has been great. It was pretty much a game changer for us. Online payments, like we've talked about. That we had some little things that maybe we kind of tweaked, especially when we came back to the office. Some small things that we kind of tweaked along the way, but having that online permit software as a basis, we obviously use SmartGov. Having that as a basis really was huge for us. And I just think like I said, we have some small things to tweak, but overall, I think we have a pretty good basis that we're working from.
Great. Anybody else have any kind of closing remarks on this question or any of the questions we've talked about today? Okay. I'm hearing none. I think what I'll do, again, I'm with my IT people. Can I get help moving the slide? It's not transitioning for me. There we go. Thank you so much. So I just want to kind of tie things together, and I've got a few slides here, and I want to kind of go quickly over them just to be respectful of everybody's time. But, some of the things that we've seen and some of the things we've heard today at Dude Solutions has really been about, the tools, the technology. There's a lot that we offer. SmartGov itself is a enterprise level community development software application. So we do the permitting, code enforcement, all that stuff. But the real things that stand out, the things that you almost take for granted are the fact that you're web-based. So to be able to access the information in the files and all the data and documentation that you need to continue to do your job on a daily basis. I mean, having that information available in one place, digitally is really, proved to be, effective. Then also the mobile thing. I know a couple of you talked about the mobile applications. There's lots to consider when doing inspections and walking in others' offices or other people's homes and things. But at least being able to have, if you're not going into the office, being able to have access to also access that information from your mobile device and to be able to continue to do the work that you need to do to continue to drive in. And then, again, on the slide transition, please. I think they took away my power to move the slides. I think we zip by a couple. I know the slide, but that's okay. The one other thing I want to point out, just take a second, is really having that portal, having a place where your citizens can go to get information, and then really an extension of your front counter. So because your front counter doesn't exist anymore, at least when people are working at home, you don't want to be close to people. Having the ability to apply for things online. Not just that, but then be able to track the application. And there's lots of self-service mechanisms that the portal provides, and I think people enjoy, and that, really kind of enabled that, really kind of enabled some jurisdictions that we know, there we go, to move on. So, those are some things in terms of technology that we can help with, and we have helped with, even with our existing customers. Go to the next slide, please. Even with our existing customers, we have noticed, which is really interesting, we track the use of our system, and our system, the usage spiked when COVID hit. We were kind of worried that it was gonna drop a bit. But what that told us is that the need for issuing permits and bringing in revenue and issuing, business licensing and all these things was still there, and the reliance on the technology was even more important than it had been in the past. So those are just some of the kind of things that we are tracking and looking at through the course of this. And then the last side here is, Dude Solutions, we say, we're beside you. We're an operations organization, and it is honestly our passion. We are out there to help jurisdictions like you in normal times, and then also times of crisis. When COVID came out, we have put some resources on our website that you can see up there, including podcasts and infographics and different videos and blogs. And we're trying to stay a step ahead of this. This is information we're updating all the time. Just like this webinar, we're really trying to get out there, trying to provide information that's going to help you guys be successful in your work. So I think we have one last kind of closing out poll, and then we're going to have some Q&A. And I think Haley and Earl, are you going to send out that poll for us?
Yep, so I just released the poll, so if everyone wants to just take a few seconds to answer it, and then we will move to audience Q&A with the panelists. Does that sound good?
Sounds great.
Awesome. So as everyone is answering that poll question that we just deployed, I'll go ahead and just ask an audience question. This one from Eugene Abbott. So what newly developed processes or procedures due to COVID are you going to keep going into the future?
Is that for any of us?
Yep, I think that's for anyone.
Yep.
Okay, this is Jay, actually. So our state and Office of State Fire Marshal, again, how they regulate kind of how we inspect, they've allowed us to do what we've had in the past is live remote inspections. So if the contractor or homeowner or whoever has an inspection that really is it just would take too long just to get there to do the inspection's simple. So it was intended for like shower pans, open ditches, something that needs to be covered up quickly, or something minor. But anyway, the state allowed us to use those live remotes for any residential or business that's occupied by someone, or the home's a lived-in home. for any inspection. We can just label it as a COVID-19 inspection. So if the customer, the contractor, the owner, the mechanical contractor, whoever it is, can walk around with his cell phone, we can do a live remote inspection. So I don't know that the state's going to allow those type of inspections to continue. They will continue the live remote inspections though for a limited things, but we're thankful that was put in place because now we just don't have to go into homes like we did. So
this is Chris in Mount Vernon, and I'll chime in too. I think we're going to keep our Skype inspections. Our city, I'd say that probably a quarter of it is over the age of 65, so it's that population that is definitely can be affected by the COVID, and having our inspectors go into the home, although they have all the proper PPE, we thought it would be best that we just continue with the Skype inspections for enclosed areas for homes, whether that be water heater, HVAC, plumbing type issues. We've got pretty decent protocols that are in there, so I think we're going to keep with it, although the inspections take a little bit longer. It keeps both us safe and the individual safe. The other thing I think we're going to keep, too, is our FTP site for exchanging files, large files that are going back and forth prior to them going into SmartGov and having people upload them. So our permit techs have really kind of worked very hard with our customers, and that's been some good feedback from the group. And then the last one, because we live in a fairly well, when traffic's bad, traffic is really bad down in the Seattle area, and we're seeing that we have a lot of developers from down south, is that we probably will keep an option for the Zoom meeting just so people can participate from the comfort of their own offices versus trying to travel an hour or two just to be able to attend a meeting face to face. Although face to face is good, in these times it may not be a bad idea to continue with that.
Yeah, I think that's great. Does anybody else have anything to add there? If not, we have a couple more questions. I can just move on. Awesome. I'll go ahead and move on to the next one. So next question is, now that you have migrated to an electronic format and methodology, will you continue to utilize these procedures, or do you think that you'll revert back to paper? So does anybody want to just open to everyone, just jump in if you have a response?
Yeah, this is Matt. I'll respond to that. We do give people the option to come in the office and still do paper permits. So, we have some residents that, just prefer not to do the electronic. Maybe they don't have a computer or just don't want to mess with it. So we do still have the option to do copies, paper copies. They can print those off from the portal. We have links to documents that they can print those off and mail it in with a check if they want. So we do have that option, but our priority and what we're really emphasizing is the online permit process. And really the COVID situation's really kind of helped us to push that as far as getting the community to kind of to utilize it more, obviously out of necessity through the COVID when our office was shut down, but that's really the direction that we're pushing and really emphasizing in our department.
Yeah, and this is Jay. I would agree that we will most likely never go back to paper.
We're never going back to paper. However, I would say that is for like the developers, the people who this is their profession. But we have exactly the same thing that we have older folks that are in the community that just don't have access to that. So obviously we're not limiting them. We would schedule an intake session with them, make sure that we got it right. We have a kiosk. Actually, we built 2 of them. So with a wireless keyboard and a wireless mouse, so that we can kind of walk through the process with the individual so that when they do leave, they've got a username and password to get into SmartGov, because most people are connected. but we've reduced our paper by like 90%, and I don't see us going back to paper.
This is Matt again. Yeah, and just to clarify too, when we do have applicants submit paper, we scan those in and attach those into SmartGov, and from that time we get the application, from that point that's kind of the end of the paper, is them turning that in. It gets converted electronically and goes through our process electronically from that point.
Awesome. That's great. Great answers, everyone. I'll move along to one more question because I know we're drawing on time. So the speakers have talked about permitting processes. What about planning? How do you anticipate the pandemic impacting your community's comprehensive plans and specific plans, et cetera? I'll open that one up to the group as well if anyone wants to jump on it.
I kind of can jump in on that one because the comp plan, again, it's out here mandated by law with the Growth Management Act every 6 years that we're updating it. I haven't really seen anything that is impacting that. I mean, again, a variety of different cogs that go into creating the comp plan and different elements that we're going to be looking at. But nothing jumps out at me right now that within the plan that it would change, that there would be something that would be changed there. Again, if the recovery was like a U or an extended U, meaning that there was some type of recession that was in there, which again, time will tell. Yeah, we may have to go back and revisit some of our planning documents and some of our estimates that go in there. But for right now, like I said, everything that we're seeing in our region looks like it's a V type of a recovery. And really, our big issue here is when is the governor going to open up or construction phase 2? Because phase 2 will allow new construction coming in, and we've got a bevy of single family as well as commercial development to be done.
That's great. Does anybody else have any other thoughts on that?
No.
Well, oh. No. Okay. Well, we have one more question, and then, if you want to go around and you want to speak for yourselves and include any last-minute wrap-up info that you have for the audience, I'll go ahead and ask it, and then we'll close things out. So, our last question is from Drew Campbell. He was hoping to hear some about how communities are handling their parks and rec. Are there picnic tables out for people to use, nets for tennis, etc.? Also, what supports are you doing for your local small businesses?
Again, this is Chris from Mount Vernon. So in phase 1, it makes it kind of easy for us. Parks are shut down, libraries are shut down, so there's really no interaction with that. In phases 2, 3, and 4, that could happen in weeks, if not months. It really is kind of interesting out here in the I'll be politically correct, in Washington State. In the People's Republic of Washington State. It's just a little interesting as to how things are implemented. But our parks are, for the most part, shut down. No tennis, no open fields. Picnic tables are still there, but I tell you what, they still have caution tape across them. And then some of our general areas, we've got a few promenades along a historic river walk that we have here. They're open for folks to use and to do, but we basically encourage good social distancing. So that's the answer to the parks question. As far as the economic development question, we are looking to, as phase 2 allows, I think it's 25% of, we're doing a lot of dash and go or takeout type orders, Uber Eats type activity with our local community. We also created a GIS map so that people could easily utilize that map to see what restaurants are open, what service they are provided, what are the menus that are in there. So that's an interactive tool that's ongoing that we are working on. GIS is in my department. And then another thing we're looking at doing is really getting right-of-way permits issued so that restaurants can go basically into the sidewalk area, kind of like a gas lamp district in San Diego comes to mind. There are other areas in DC that I know that do that, and just kind of open up the sidewalks to some restaurants. And again, there are limitations there. I think phase 2 is 25%, phase 3 is 50%, and then phase 4, whenever that occurs, is back to not necessarily normal, but there is social distancing that's required in all of those.
That's great. Thanks, Chris. Matt or Jay, do you have anything to add before we close it out?
No, I do believe our parks are open and the social distancing is encouraged. Is about what I know of it.
Mm-hmm. Great. Well, I think that is it for today. Jeff, Jay, Chris, and thank you so much. And thanks to you, our audience, for listening today. As a reminder, the on-demand event will be sent to you later this week, and we encourage you to share with colleagues who may have missed today's discussion. Thanks again, and we hope that you tune in next time.